Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mike Kollin at MikeKollin.com. Okay, so this video is going to have a few messages. Probably, I don't know if they're combined or separate, but I'm going to throw them all out here because I think some of them are very important learnings, I think, for a lot of you who have dealt with narcissist abuse and just abusive people in general. One thing I want to share with you that I shared in my last video is I'm really experiencing a very open heart. Talk about open. People talk about open chakras. This is more like it is the same thing, but it's wide open. I prefer to say just my energy field is completely expanded right now. I have love just pouring through me right now. And I can feel it. It is just like flowing through literally my chest and heart area. The only other thing I want to say about, and this does actually apply to what I'm about to go into in this video, probably the second or third piece. I don't have it in order, but it's about boundaries. Okay, and I'm not going to give it away. It's the combination of something you may not have understood your entire life. You heard it your whole life, but did not understand it. It's an awesome learning. Okay, so I'm going to start here. So one thing that we just went through, literally as of probably about 8 or 10 hours ago, there's a combination of things that just happened. Number one, the what do you call it? The star constellation Scorpio is actually up in the sky right now. Okay, and so last night I went out and saw it. I saw it the last probably week, maybe a little bit more than that, maybe 2 weeks, but it's been up for a while. But what happened is the full moon went into the sign of Scorpio. Now, not just last night, because that was the full moon last night, but the night before, the night before, the night before, the night before, etc. Now, it was slightly a little bit later, but it was still going into that. Now, what this did is it brought up old emotions and issues, and especially blockages from all the way back from when you were a child, possibly even past lives. And these were blockages that have been holding you back your entire life. Okay, now here's the thing. I didn't know this until after I went through this huge shift. And I mentioned in the last video, maybe the one before that. I'm not sure which order. Yeah, I'm probably going to put this up next because I have 2 other videos I've got to upload. But I mentioned how I cried for 5 days straight. I mean, I was really sensitive emotionally, etc. And I didn't know anything about, I didn't realize like Scorpio was up there until about 5 nights ago or something like that. Something like that. I don't remember exactly the day. And I didn't realize that the full moon was going into it, etc. until I read an article yesterday. And it was talking about how, these blockages are rearing their ugly head. And these are things that have probably been so buried beneath that you didn't even know they were there, yet they were absolutely affecting your life. And I'm going to share one of mine with you. Now, the reason why I'm sharing this with you is because I like it when I go through an experience and I can feel like, man, there's an energy just going through me. And when I read that article, it was 100% in alignment of what I experienced, what the issues that came up, etc., etc. There was an issue that came up from childhood, from when I was in probably high school. Yeah, I was in high school, and the emotion that came up it was intense, it was emotional, and it was extremely familiar. And then a memory came up of what happened in high school. So if you've been really emotional and really sensitive the last probably week, probably actually more than that, it's basically now that we're just almost past the full moon, it's still having an effect, and it will have an effect for another 3-4 days or more, but it gets less and less. Okay, so we essentially just went past the midpoint, so things are going to start calming down again. Now, I know the full moon generally has an emotional effect on people, but this is different because it was in the sign of Scorpio, which is a very sensitive sign. Okay, so it'll affect you a lot different than another full moon in another sign. Alright, so here's one of the lessons that I finally got from this clearing that I went through. Okay, this is an important lesson, especially for you. Probably most people on my channel, you've had challenges with boundaries and even understanding like what is a boundary. In fact, a lot of people don't know what a boundary is, but you hear it all the time. So for most people, essentially, once they get hurt really, really bad from a narcissist, they put this great, what I call the Great Wall of China up, which is isolation, when you isolate for so many years, etc. And when it comes to boundaries, like dealing with people, okay, I'm going to just share it from my experience, my perspective, etc. I always thought, now here's what I really misunderstood when it came to boundaries. And I think for a lot of you, this is really going to free you emotionally. So most people on this channel got hurt by a narcissist or narcissist their entire lives, and they finally woke up to what was going on, who was doing it, what the tactics are, the red flags, gaslighting, all the mind games that they play, and it hurt you deeply, like really, really bad. And one of the challenges is, people like, oh, you just got to forgive. And I even made a video a while back, like, no, you don't have to forgive, not right away. You're going to have to go through a phase where you're really angry and you're really hurt and you don't trust, okay? And that's a normal process, okay? So if you went through a phase or you're in the phase of like you don't trust anyone, good. You're learning to have solid boundaries. This is a good thing. Don't listen to people like, oh, you can't be that way. Now, if you're that way for 20 years, that's a bit excessive. You're supposed to get to a point where you have boundaries. And that's one thing about empaths or light workers or just loving people. We have a really hard time having boundaries with people that we love. So on the one hand, people, now here's the thing you had backwards. I'm just going to say it from this perspective. So on the one hand, people tell you, oh, you just got to forgive. You just got to let go of the anger and the hurt. And they have no idea what it's like to be gang stalked, what it's like to be raped, what it's like to be tortured and abused for freaking a decade or more, and on and on. Like they don't get it because they've never gone through it. And here they are telling, oh, you just got to forgive. And you're just like, it's like you finally got, see, here's what we did though our whole life. We just, I literally got stabbed in the leg by a guy in a high school dance. And I told you guys a story and I didn't know who did it. He came up from behind him. It was my girlfriend. Said, hey, you've got blood all over your hands and your legs. I'm like, what are you talking about? And because I kept rubbing my leg because it stung and I thought it was from like the football game. And I remember my hand was wet, but it didn't make sense. I was like, shit, I got blood everywhere. And I think someone came up to me and said, oh, so-and-so did that. I'm like, who's that? And he was like, oh, well, he goes to the opposing school across town. I was like, okay. And it was the next morning for sure this person told me, I think it was another guy, but then he knew the guy. I go, well, why did he do it? And he goes, well, because he's jealous because you play football, blah, 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 and you're good at sports. I was like, oh, okay. So what did I do? So I asked the kid, I said, when we're at another dance or wherever, if you're there, point him out to me. And so he did. And what did I do? I walked up to the guy and gave him a big old hug. And I said, it's okay, don't worry about it, etc. My name's so-and-so, nice to meet you. And he didn't say a word. He just looked at, his mouth dropped, and he was like, what? Like it confused him. He didn't get it. He just walked away, I'm not kidding. And so my entire life was people would brutalize me, and I mean brutalize me, and I would just forgive them all willy-nilly, and then here's the problem though. They would do it again, and again, and again, and it never stopped. And it wasn't one person, we're talking dozens, if not 50, 60 plus people, and maybe more if you include people at the gym, etc., etc. Always like, oh, it's okay, thinking, well, this is what empaths do. Well, if I forgive them, I'm nice and let them know it's okay, then they're going to be nice to me, realizing, oh, this isn't my enemy, that's my friend. No. Narcissists take that as a green light to attack even more. So Now here's the thing that I think a lot of you misunderstood. I know I did. And here's my revelation. When you forgive someone, at least I used to think that meant you had to literally let them back into your life and open your heart to them. No. And so essentially, if we were going to use the word boundaries, I literally, when I would forgive someone, I would lower my boundaries and let them walk all over me, and I was nice in return, and it was just a nonstop circle of being abused. So the realization that I had, or the revelation, if you want to call it that, is because here's what happened. Like I finally have forgiven everybody. But that doesn't mean I'm going to let them back in. That doesn't mean I'm going to open my heart at all. Not one tiny little bit. It doesn't mean I'm going to lower my boundaries and let them walk in my life and walk all over. In fact, if they were to call me right now, I'd hang up. I'm telling you. I have boundaries to people who are abusive. Period. End of sentence. So if any of them listen to this video and think, oh, he's finally forgiven me, I'm going to go and say hi. I'm like, no, I'll just hang up the phone. I'll close the door. I'll literally walk away. I will not talk to them. Forgiving someone does not mean that you have to let them come back into your life. It doesn't mean you have to let them abuse you. Because see, here's the deal. They haven't changed. They won't change. That's not who they are. That's not what they do. And even if they did, even if they got a sainthood from the Pope and the priest, I wouldn't give a shit. Now here's the other side of the coin. So now that I finally figured out what narcissist abuse is and realizing like they don't change and they're just going to come back and hoover you, hurt you again, suck you back in, chew you up, spit you out. I had this boundary to a lot of people, and how do I explain what I'm trying to say? Hold on. I felt like if I had a boundary, then I had to hate them. I had to hold on to that, because if I let the boundary down, that means I had to be nice and they were going to come back in. I was going to have to let them walk all over me, and that was the confusion. Like, no, that is not what boundaries mean. It doesn't mean you have to be nice to anybody. What I meant to say is forgiveness does not mean you have to be nice to anybody, especially anyone who's been abusive to you. Having forgiveness does not mean you have to lower your boundaries, and that's what I didn't understand. So the belief that I think a lot of you had or have, it's the same one I had, was boundaries means if that person shows up, you got to be angry. You've got to have not even at home, you're alone, you're driving to work, the minute you say nope, you got like you're holding this energy, this great wall up of anger and hate and hurt, and you have to remember everything they did. It's like that's what it felt like to me until just this week. When I finally, it's funny, I didn't actually realize this first. Something inside me shifted, something healed, something, I don't know how to explain it, something just, I'm like at peace, and I realized, see, here's what it was, I finally came to peace. I mean, finally, for my whole life. And I'm finally, then I thought, oh no, they're going to come back in. I'm like, no. I'll just hang up the phone. I'll just shut the door. Here's what I'm saying. I don't have to walk around in anger or hurt or defensiveness or remembering what they did to me and what am I going to say to them. I'm not going to say nothing. I'm literally not going to say nothing. I don't care if I bump into them at the grocery store. I'll just turn and walk away. And if they follow me, I'll leave my groceries right there on the cashier or in the cart, and I'll just walk out. Like literally, it doesn't mean you have to hold fear. You have to remember everything they did or be angry or anything at all. You just, no, I'm not dealing with them. There is a freedom in forgiveness and having strong boundaries at the same time. And that's what I'm trying to say in this video. This is what we need to be teaching people, because then people can let go of the fear, the hurt, and the anger. Because just telling people, oh, you just got to forgive, you just got to let go of the hurt, you got to let go of the anger, it doesn't do it. It leaves you in like, yeah, so I got to be vulnerable, like my shields are down and they're going to charge in again. It's because they don't stop. It's not like suddenly they're going to magically change. So the realization of like, no, you don't have to let your boundaries down. What a realization. That's why I let go of the anger and the fear. Alright, for example, a boundary is something that you don't like or don't want to do. So if someone came up to me and said, hey man, do you want to smoke a cigarette? I'd be like, absolutely not. I have absolutely no interest in that. So if someone comes up and tries to, give me a cigarette, it's not like I'm going to be in fear and put up the Great Wall of China. But but here's the funny thing. There is an absolute wall. Like, no, I'm not going to do that. And the difference is there's no like fear and anger and I'm going to rip into them and let them know. I'm going to let them have. It's like, no, it's like literally no thank you. I'm just going to walk away. See, in other words, it's not like okay, if someone approaches me and they're going to offer me a cigarette, here's what I'm going to say. And this is what I'm going to remember. And I'm going to have to, it's like, no, and admit it. You guys have done this, play this scenario in your head. What if the narcissist comes back? What if they call me? What if they walk up to me at the store? What am I going to say to them? And that's the thing right now. It's like, I'm going to tell them to F off, leave. Like, there's no planned, well, you did this to me and explaining everything in detail. It's like, no, just boom, done. I don't want to talk to you. Bye. Just, that's it. There's just so much emotional freedom in living life like this. Forgiveness doesn't mean that suddenly you have to think, oh, well, they're a really good guy. They didn't really mean it. Like, no. Forgiveness is like, even right now, I'm like, no, I know they're bad people. They're very bad people. They did very bad things. So in other words, you don't have to change your opinion of them. You don't have to think like, oh, well, forgiveness means I got to think the best about everyone and I love everyone. No, that does not mean that. Forgiveness just gives you freedom, emotional freedom to feel good, to feel the love, to open your heart again. And that's probably why I'm making this video, is because you can open your heart once you realize you can still keep the boundaries up. Now, I want to reiterate, this is why my heart is so open now. Because before I felt like, oh, I've got to be closed to everyone. Now it's like, man, I can be wide open and just have, it's like there's this boundary up in front of me and I'm open inside my own space doing my own thing and life feels really good. Now here's part 3. This is one of the issues that came up for me. It was something that I dealt with in energy healing and therapy in the past that I thought was done. Like, I literally thought it was completely done. And here's the thing. I mean, I dealt with this over and over for literally 2 decades. But it came to a point where like, oh, okay, we finally got past it. No, we did not. So here, I'm at a place where like, okay. So let me just share it with you. Okay, so here's what it was. I always had this like, I don't want to say it was a belief that I held, but it was like, this just seemed the way life was. It's like, I can't have what I want. Like, that was one of the experiences that I experienced in life. Like, it got really, really bad as I became an adult. Like what the hell's going on? Now, here's something. I actually emailed someone and said, oh, this really good thing happened in my life, came into my life, blah, 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 blah. And then it was like a couple days later, oh, it's not going to happen. I can't have it and blah, 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 blah. And I didn't even catch it at first when I first was writing this down. But I was writing all the reasons, oh, it's never going to happen. This, that, and all this stuff. And I went through that phase of crying for 5 days that I told you about earlier in this video and the last video. And then what happened was I came to a realization like, whoa, wait a minute. Luckily, I never contacted this person or said, for some reason, I just isolated, kept to myself, because I realized I was causing that problem in my head. And I started having all these memories, which is called the Transderivational Search, TDS, all these memories came up all the way back from childhood. And I was like, oh my God. Like, I started seeing how many times, maybe not how many, maybe I didn't count every one, but I had all these realizations like, wow, I really caused this issue where I couldn't have what I wanted because I didn't believe it. Because in fact, I had a belief like, whatever you want, you can have. Now, again, for those of us on this channel that are empaths and light workers and, people who have been attacked, or, the black sheep or the scapegoat, those of us who have been attacked by narcissists, well, this was something that was installed, and this is what narcissists do. They're literally doing hypnotic techniques. So every time I'd want something, like, nope, you can't have that. And here's the deal. I'm just going to give you a real life memory. So when I was a kid, there was a certain bike that I wanted. And we all went to the bike store. Okay, now this is a funny thing. And it was Mike's bikes. I ended up racing on the Mike's bike team, and I had my own jersey with my brothers. We all raced for the team, and I wanted this bike that they had. But here's the funny thing: when we left the store a couple days later, I was across the parking lot, and I was in Thrifty's not grocery store, but Thrifty's store where they sold ice cream and bikes and toys. And there was a really pretty bike that was yellow, and I thought, oh, that's so cool. Now at the time, I didn't realize like that was not a good bike. But here's the funny thing: it was actually lighter than the other bike that was more expensive in quality in the Mike's bike store. And in my mind, I was like, oh, I really want this bike. I really want this bike. And but I thought like, well, I already told my parents the bike I want, so I can't change my mind. And it was for Christmas. And I just remember praying to God, oh, please somehow let me have that bike, blah, blah, blah. Well, here's the funny thing. All my brothers and sisters got the bike they picked at Mike's Bikes, but I didn't get the one that I picked. And I was actually glad for it. I ended up getting this bike from Thrifty's. Now, the reason why, because, that was the cheapest bike. Because I think it was even a Huffy. This is when Huffies were cheap. Like, these were like the worst bikes in the world. But the thing about it was they're really light. And because it was so light, I won a lot more at racing. Like, a lot more. Like, I pretty much won almost every damn race for years because of that bike. But that wasn't my mother's intention. The intention was, he wants this bike. Nope, he's not going to get it, but everyone else is going to get what they want. I'm going to give him something he doesn't want. He can't have what he wants. Now, my whole life, I heard my mother say that to me. I can't tell you, oh, you can't have that. So it was a funny thing. Whenever I wanted something, no, you don't want that. You want this over here. It was always this no, either you can't have it or something over here. I don't want to give too many stories because I'm trying to explain something, but there was another time when I won a boxing. I was a state champion. I won the state championship in boxing, and no one celebrated. The very next morning, they were like, why don't you just quit? In fact, my brother Gary literally rode up to me. I was at the school. It's like, I think it was Saturday morning or Sunday morning, and he goes, why don't you just quit? Like, you suck. Like, I wasn't even allowed to enjoy my victories. It's like, no matter what I wanted, I couldn't have. So that got conditioned into me over years and years of being treated this way. And so what happens is, as I've told you in the past, once a belief locks in and you truly believe it on a physical, emotional, kinesthetic level, it's locked in, it's coded. And that belief will cause you to do everything in your power to make it come true. Because that's how the unconscious mind works. It goes, oh, this is what we believe. Oh, okay, no problem. And it goes to work making sure it does everything in its power to make sure that belief becomes true in your reality. And that's the thing about the unconscious mind. It doesn't really care at all. It has no judgment at all about what you believe. It just wants to fulfill your belief. Or beliefs. So when you have a really powerful belief, your unconscious mind is going to make it come true. Whether it's true or not, it doesn't matter. For example, so I had this really good experience. Someone come into my life, and at first I was euphoric. I thought this is great, and then out of nowhere, I start kind of flipping it around. Like, well, that's never going to happen. And I started coming up with all these reasons why. And at the time, they really seemed real. So I realized, wait, I'm doing that pattern, and holy shit, it's still there. And that's the whole thing about the Scorpio, the moon going to the sign every night, going through it for 5, 6 nights, 2 weeks, or whatever. And I became more conscious of it. And that's the thing about the full moon. It's lighting it up, and Scorpio's making you more sensitive, more aware of it. You're feeling it more. You're becoming conscious of it. And it's like, I thought that thing was done. So then I did an NLP technique to shift this. I did timeline therapy technique is what I did. Then I did a parts integration, etc. And that's when all of a sudden things started to release. There was an emotional release that lasted for 5 days. I was really sensitive to anything that a music, so a song, someone doing or saying something in a video that just would just turn me into mush, and I would start crying. And that was that part beginning to clear and to heal. So by having this one shift, a whole cascade of beliefs started falling down, and it's like pulling that cornerstone. I don't know how to explain this. Everything starts to collapse. All these false beliefs and these false realities that you've lived by your entire life begins to fall down, and it collapses because now I'm looking at things like, well, that's not true. I can have that. I can do this. I can, everything started to shift. So the energy of doubt began to rear its ugly head, a little bit before. Let's go back another minute or two. And I started to just see it for what it was. I was like, oh, that's just not real. And now I have clarity. What I'm hoping is that you guys had a very similar experience, probably with different beliefs or different whatever. But did you guys go through something over the last 10 days, maybe 2 weeks? Right now it's May 13th, so probably from today, May 12th, and probably before that, say 5, 7, 8, 10 days before that. So let me know if you guys were crying, if you were emotional, if you were sensitive, if you had a lot of doubt come up, you just felt like hiding from the world. Let me know if the last from yesterday, the May 12th, and especially before that, because yesterday I was actually doing really, really good actually, and I think the day before. And also old beliefs if they came up, or memories, stuff like that. Alright guys, that's it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something from it. And I do want to add one thing to it. I am a professionally trained NLP trainer, master hypnotherapist, timeline therapist, consciousness worker, and also trained in 3 different forms of energy healing. You can change your beliefs. The work I do, one of the things, a technique is called belief change. Now, one thing I'm trained in also is asking you questions and doing kind of a search where we can find out what's holding you back from your happiness, your joy, and achieving real life goals such as business goals, sports goals, achieving life goals, making more money, etc., etc. I promise you, if there's one thing that I saw in the last 10 days was I was the one that was holding me back. That belief constantly made me say the wrong thing at the wrong time, or just tell someone, don't ever call me again, it's never going to work. I started to do it in the last week or so, and I caught myself before I did anything, and thank God I didn't do anything, because I was going through this emotional clearing, and it started to become clearer and clearer and clearer. For the first time in my life, I saw what I'd been doing to myself it's completely unconscious. Once your unconscious mind believes something, no matter how good something is that comes into your life, it'll say, if you don't believe you deserve it, you're not worthy, or you can't get what you want, or whatever it is, it's like, oh, okay. You'll yell at people. It'll cause you to misunderstand people. It's almost like you can't speak English or something. It's like you add a word, you didn't hear a word, even though your ear actually heard it, but your brain didn't. It shifts things around to make that belief come true. And even if it's not real at all, it'll make it seem real. That's how powerful your unconscious mind is. Fortunately, I am trained in NLP. I'm a master hypnotherapist, timeline therapist, etc., etc. I am trained in helping you make the shifts and change on an energetic level, and especially an unconscious level. That's what NLP and Ericksonian hypnosis is all about. Alright guys, God bless you guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like this video, please click subscribe, click the like button, go ahead and make a comment. And if you want, you can go ahead and make a donation. There's a PayPal link right there in the description box. Alright guys, I'll see you in the next video. Peace.